Hi, this is Nancy with On Point TV and Quilting with Nancy. I hope you are all having a wonderful evening. I think we're like a week into fall at this point, and it's gotten in Michigan here anyway. It gets really chilly at night, and then it's been getting up to about 77 in the daytime. So we're kind of like, split between. Okay, I'm gonna wait for this to there we go. Want to watch our video? So I'm watching now, which means then I can see any chats. So I would love for you guys to ask questions. Hello from Northern California. How are the fires in Northern California? Whenever I look on my weather app, it shows me all the wildfires. It looks like the entire state of California is on fire. I'm hoping that's not the case, but it looks pretty bad. So, welcome. All right. So, what we're going to do today is we are going to talk about creating monochromatic fabrics. So, just as a education, this would be a monochromatic fabric. And this is honestly some of my favorite stuff. So this is a fabric from Tim Holtz. This is a Free Spirit line Tim Holtz fabric. And what this is monochromatic. And what I mean by that is it only has technically one color. So there's a light pink, a little bit, another shade of pink, some darker pink, all the way up to purple, but staying within those colors on the color wheel. Now, yes, there is black in this particular piece, but black isn't technically a color. Here's a couple of other examples. This is not monochromatic. This is a piece from Sue Penn, a good friend of mine and a fabulous designer at Free Spirit Fabrics. And this was one of her first collections. It is no longer available. I know I'm going to hear that. Please, where do I get that fabric? There isn't any. I'm sorry. But this is the fabric I actually used in my Learning to Quilt with 2 quilt that should be airing very soon. So keep an eye out for that. This is not monochromatic, but this is another piece from Sue's line, a different line, that is monochromatic. So when you're looking at monochromatic, that's what you're looking for. A fabric that on the color wheel is just as short. And I'm wondering, where's my color wheel? Hold on one second. Do I have one handy? No, I know the minute we turn it off, I'll find it. But on the color wheel, you just want to pick like a small range. You're not going like complementary where it's, one on one side and one on the other. Instead, you're just using a small range on the color wheel. Athena and I are both looking now going, where is that color wheel? I know it's here somewhere. So that's monochromatic. Now, my why did it come to my thoughts that I thought that I needed to do some monochromatic is my attention. Thank you. Where's Gina when I need my words? Because I was working on this quilt. So was able to take a class. I don't get to take classes very often. And it was a class with Pat Yamin, Yamin, I believe is her last name. And she was teaching a class at the West Michigan Quilters Guild. So hello, Australia. Hello, Northern Maine. You're very welcome. When in this class, I needed a background fabric and then I needed some fabrics to go with it. So I chose as my background fabric. So how close can we get to that, Athena? All right. The background fabric is that really cute cream colored fabric with those fabulous high heels. I love this fabric. I think it's one from Riley Blake, and I probably need to find out how to get a whole lot more of it. But a coordinate to that could not be a really printy fabric. It needed to be more monochromatic. And you can see in my selection, so if we look, I'm going to put this down. If we look like here, this one has a pink gold kind of background and then a little purple. That is within the color wheel. I love how this one is really just a light green to a dark green. But when it's all in the quilt, and if we back it up, okay, look up here, Athena. Athena like dazed out there for a second. So when you look at it from a distance, they look like solids, but yet they're not solids. I so rarely use a solid fabric. But that's what a monochromatic one is going to look like. So I thought that's what we would talk about today in painting our own fabric. FYI, this is my improvisational piecing quilt. I showed this the other day when I was doing the alcohol ink. I was talking about alcohol ink, and somebody said, "Oh, are you going to do a video on that?" Probably not, honestly, because it's improvisational piecing. It's one of those things that it just happens as it goes. So I do teach that as a class. So this painting that I'm going to be doing, the alcohol ink, some of the other things, and improvisational piecing are classes that I'm teaching down in Houston. So for the Quilt Festival, I also, I'm not sure, I don't think it's one that I'm going to teach at Road to California, although I'm not really positive about that. Double check. But that's one that you'll want to catch me in a live class with, because I won't do a video on it. It's too improvisational. Not that I've ever written a script or anything. Ha. Um, but that's what the quilt is behind me. So here is some examples of what I did, I don't know, about maybe 45 minutes ago in preparation for this. I'm going to use 2 sets of stencils. I'm going to use some geometric stencils, like these ones, and some swirls. So here's some of my multitude of swirl stencils. And along with those, I will be using a very limited number of stamps, all right? Because I'm trying to like rein myself in so that I don't get overwhelmed. I also am just going to work obviously in one colorway. So these are the ones that I worked on earlier. And this has, you see the geometrics behind it, those kind of diamonds, and then the big swirls on top of it. Now, this has a little bit of a high contrast to it, but would still be monochromatic. And they're going to get progressively darker as I go. This one had circles below it, and then, you know what, this is like the coolest tool ever, and if I knew where I could get more of them to sell them to you, I'd make millions of dollars. This is like, it's like bubble wrap, but it's not bubble wrap. I think it was like something for if you were making honeycombs or something and you could imprint it with this on it. Well, it makes the coolest dots on fabric. But I just don't know where to get more of them. But here we've got, there's rings below, dots on top. Here is 3 layers. There is some little squares, then the circles, then the flowers on top. And you see that they're going to get a little bit darker as we go. Some of them very subtle. Love the subtle ones. Some of them not so subtle. This had diamonds, then rings, and then dots on top of it. And then I started bringing in some darker things to add to it to make darker monochromatic. Here we've got ones from a stamp and a stencil. Started going a little bit red. Then I've gone darker. And this one, yeah, I think that one's darker. And then this one's going to be my darkest one. Nope, not that one. This one is my darkest one. And I'm going to bring out that needle point canvas because this is, how close can we get?
Oh, yeah, no, you
Can you see
it.
that little grid?
Yeah.
All right. Because that little grid, I just think, yeah, it's like so cool. And that's done with the needle point. So that's how we're going to proceed. I am going to start using some yellows, and I've got some. Now, keep in mind, these bottles look exactly the same. This is the Dilutions paint that I use, the paint from Ranger, 100% acrylic. Generally speaking, very, very fluid, but I'll show you what to do when it's not so fluid. And these used to be the same color, but they're not anymore. And what I mean by that is I love these bottles so much that when it starts to get empty, that's when I will take colors and start mixing them. So this one is more lemon zest. This one I've actually added some white to it, so it's a more pale color. And you'll see that with a lot of my ones. Let me see. Yeah, these are both supposed to be the same color, Pure Sunshine, but they're not because I've actually added some different colors to it. Sometimes I'll take the colors from my Jacquard. So the Jacquard is the other line of paints that I like to use. I like the ones in the bottle better because they're a little bit easier to handle. And I don't, because with these, I've got to use a palette knife to get the paint out. So we're going to start with that. And then I also am going to use my Sparks. This is another one of the paints that I've used that has a glitter to it. Sometimes I'll talk about whether or not it's fluid. If it's not fluid enough, we'll add some textile medium. If it is already fluid enough, I do not add textile medium to it. It is not necessary. I just use it if I want to either lighten up a thickness of a paint, or if I want a little bit more play time with the paint, I need more time with it. Then sometimes also I will use Liquitex iridescent medium, but I'm having a hard time finding this. I hope they're not discontinuing it. If I find out they are, I'll let you know, but by that point I'll have bought all the product up that I can find on the internet, and then you'll all be out of it anyway. So there you go. Iridescent medium. Love this stuff. So I started by putting my gloves in a bottle on my hand. This is just a lotion that kind of makes I don't know, it's just a lotion and it feels good, but what I find is it keeps the paint from getting stuck inside my nails, right next to my nails, okay? So I'd actually started something else. Yeah, I got to peel that up. So I'd had a red I was testing, and let's peel that baby up, and then we'll get started with our yellow. Yeah, there'll be a little bit red inside of this yellow, so let me put that to the side. And then this one here is another one that I started. And I love to clean off my plate by adding a layer of, like, usually my cream color or a white on it. And then I let it set for a while. It'll actually get these little peely guys on the edge that you can just peel off. But what it does is it really cleans off your plate with just every little thing. So at the end of the day, I am not a cleaner off of the plate. I will just put another layer of paint on and then peel it off like this when I go to paint again. Because really, you cannot dispute how beautiful that is. That's just a great piece, and I'll use that as one of my bases. So hello from Bear Lake, Michigan. Hello, Michigan. And Fishers, Indiana. Fishers, Indiana. That's IN, right? Yeah, Indiana. Hi, everybody. All right, so to start with, I'm going to do a light color base. So I'm going to take my this is just my high quality muslin that I use. This is not a fancy fabric. It is not the prepared PFD or prepared for dye. You can use that if you want. I don't. I just am using a high quality muslin. You also, if you want, if the spirit moves you, go ahead, pre-wash it. I don't care. I don't, but you can if that's what makes you happy. All right. High quality muslin. This is available on my website, and you can just email me because has to be additional shipping on it. Okay. So we're going to start by making some light colored, some paint in there. Okay, there. Some light colored bases. Now this one obviously isn't going to be quite as light because it's got a little bit of that red in there. Let me see if I can go in like this because that red was not really, really dry yet. Okay. Like there's a little clumpy. So I'm going to just spread my paint out. Try not to make it too thick, but if you've watched any of my painting videos, you know that is something I struggle with. I'm going to just put it out. And when I'm putting it on the brayer, I'm lifting the brayer, bringing it down. Lifting the brayer, bringing it down. Unless I'm wanting to mix, like that red I wanted to mix in there, then you can go like this, and you can see what just happened. How cool is that? Okay. And because I'm only going to be using technically one color, I'm rarely going to wipe off my brayer. Okay. Hello, Texas. I will be in Texas shortly at Quilt Market. I'm sorry, at Quilt Festival, because Quilt Market got postponed, but Quilt Festival, which is for all of you out there that like taking classes and buying things at quilt shows, Quilt Festival is definitely still on. Probably, I'm going to say the first really big show since COVID. I said the C word, Athena said. Yes, the C word. Hello, Scotland. All right. All right, Margaret, just saying. Athena wanted, what, you want to marry a Scottish guy or an Australian guy?
Australia.
Oh, Australian guy. But she likes the Scottish accent. Well, seriously, who doesn't? All right.
I'm not picky.
So now I'm going to peel these up. These are going to be the start of my light colored solids. I'm going to do a couple more of them. So I did that with this really pale yellow. Now I'll do it with the brighter yellow. There and there. I am using 2 of the palettes because I can. These are the gel press mono printing plates. That is my preferred brand, and they do great for me. This is the 8.5, or I'm sorry, 8 by 10. On these, I will take my fabric and I will pre-cut. Well, first I pre-tear them into about a 9-inch strip along the length of the grain of fabric, and then I cut them into about an 11 so that the fabrics are approximately a 1/2 inch bigger all the way around. There are other sizes available. I do love the 12 by 12. I also have a 12 by 14, and I'm working on my craft mat. This is a mat that I can peel up all of the paint that is left behind. All right, so I got that one, and I'm going to do one more set. And this time I'm going to use kind of this light ochre. No, I'm going to use this one. No, I'm not. I'm going to use the pale. Sorry. And, changing my mind is what I do. All right. Ooh, that is bright. Okay, so let's start this one up. Hello from the mountains of Virginia. Hello, mountains in Virginia. I'm trying to remember when's the last time I was in Virginia.
Probably when we went to North Carolina.
Oh, yeah. Went to the Outer Banks once. And on our way, I believe we have to go through Virginia. But wait a minute. Did I went to Washington, D.C. Would I have had to, is Washington, D.C. and, okay, geography lesson here. Yeah. All right. Yeah, one of those. I would love to teach in Virginia. That's what I was gonna say. I would love to teach anywhere. If you'll buy me a plane ticket, I will come and teach wherever you are. All right, so one more light colored solid, and then I'll be ready to start doing the designing with the textures, with the stamps and the stencils. All right, see, this has like the perfect amount of paint. It's so rare that I actually do the perfect amount of paint. I'm always surprised when it happens. There. All right, so as this is setting on it, I am going to prepare the 2 stencils that I'm going to use for each one of these sets of 2 solids that I made. So I'm going to start with this one, which is one of my favorites. The majority of my stencils come from, which way you want it this way? All right. The majority of my stencils come from joggles.com. All the links are below, and going to joggles.com, she is out in Rhode Island. She's a really, really good friend of mine. And she's got, I don't know, probably my 85% of the stencils, the stamps. She has all the paints that I talk about and stuff. Those are all at joggles.com. If you use the links below, I really appreciate it because then I get a small commission on all of those sales. So if you just go to Joggles, you'll see everything. Go ahead, buy everything. But if you just use one of the links below to do your purchases, then I actually get extra credit for that. So I'd really appreciate that. So these are the stencils that we're going to use and the stamps. And I've got some stencils that are not joggles.com. Some I just don't even know where I got them. So I'm going to start with this. So let me peel this guy up. Ooh, that creamy one got a little bit of yellow. Oh, still got, look at all that red on it. Okay. And this one's a little bit creamier. Perfect. Okay. So with this, I'm going to be doing the positive and the negative on the 2 first yellows that I did, just because they're a little bit drier, although none of them are really dry. They're all a little bit damp right now. If I wanted to use this fabric right now, I'd just go and iron it dry and then cut it up and use it in a quilt. But for now, they're a little bit damp, but that's okay. So I've got this yellow, so I want to go just one little shade. So I'm going to try and use the shimmer paints, not try to use. I'm going to use the shimmer paint. So Dilutions came out with a shimmer paint, and kind of the idea behind it is it's the regular Dilutions paint with shimmer in it, just like it says. So almost like when I use the regular Dilutions and I'll use the Liquitex iridescent medium, hoping that the Liquitex iridescent medium will still be available, right? But what I have found with the shimmer paint is it's a little bit thicker than the other. So I always will use textile medium when I use the shimmer paint. Keep in mind, sometimes when my paint gets down in the bottle, I'll just add textile medium to the bottle and then give it a really, really good shake, and then then it's all ready for me to use and I don't have to worry about putting anything else in it. So I think I've added some textile medium to this. Yep, I've added some textile medium to this. I can tell because it came out a little bit easier. Sometimes it comes out thicker and it's still a little chunky. So again, I just go like this and mix it up. So I'm going to do the positive and the negative on this stencil. And there's some fancy words for how they do it, what they call that. I just call it the positive and the negative. All right, there goes one. Now I'm going to take this one and lay it down on top. And I want to press getting into those holes. All right, so wondering, would it make it easier to grab all the paint by using a clean brayer and pull up rather than pull off as much? Okay, wait a minute. Would it make it easier to grab all the paint by using a clean brayer to pull up the paint rather than by hand? Or would it pull it much off the mat, affecting the next piece? I think what you're saying, Kathleen, I'm not 100% positive. No, I'm not sure what you're saying. Would it make sense to use a clean brayer to pull up the paint rather than by hand? I don't know what you mean, Kathleen. Add to your question, okay? Hello, Blue Mountains in New South Wales, Australia. That's where Athena wants her husband to come from. She wants him to cook Italian and come from Australia. So there you go. If you know any nice men
From the Blue Mountains?
from
Sure.
the, sure. All right, so this is the positive. So you can see, especially because it's a little shimmery, the little squares. Okay, now I'm going to take that other piece. I'm going to set it here on my brayer instead of using your hands like you're doing right now. No, if you use the brayer when you put it down, so I'm going to get a clean piece of fabric. And I'm going to pick that up right there, Kathleen. I do like this, right? And you're thinking if I were to use a clean brayer, which I have one somewhere, the problem is that when you use the brayer to go on top of the fabric, it pushes the fabric forward and it doesn't work. Now, I know artists, I see them on YouTube that do use the brayer when they are doing paper, but it does not work when you're doing fabric. It seems to push the fabric forward. So I just get my hands icky like this. And then I wash them at the end and everything's fine. All right. So I put that one, what did I do here? Okay. So this, I made the one. I put that under, oh, I think I meant to put, all right, Kathleen, I was so worried about your question. Push paints. Yes, that I didn't do exactly what I meant to, but this is going to turn out really cool anyway. Okay. So that one's just going to be on white. I'm going to have to add something else to it. What I had intended to do was to put down another one of my yellow ones. I did use the paint that was wet from the back of the stencil, but it did not show up as nice. So I'm going to do another one with a different color this time. Let's use the regular orange. Okay. So this time I'm going to do it proper. And I'll use a different stencil. See, that's good. Then we get to use C2 stencils. I just want to have for you a few techniques so that you don't feel overwhelmed when you go to start painting. I want you to feel like you've got some techniques in your pocket that you can pull out to start painting. So here I've got my paint. Here I've got a solid or mostly solid yellow. I'm going to pick up the paint through the stencil. Okay, so this is the first one. I kind of messed it up last time, but I don't think it's a huge deal.
There are no mess ups in the world of art.
Oh, look at Athena. Wow, being a philosopher.
I don't know if they heard that. But
Athena said there are no mess ups in the world of art. All right. So I'm making sure that I'm really getting those little dots. I can see that some of them are coming right through the fabric. Okay, there's layer one. I am going to take the wet side of this one and just set it over here on top of a fabric. Now I'm going to take another one of my yellow solids and I'm going to put that down on to the paint that is left on the plate. All right, don't worry about it. I'm glad you interrupted me. I like questions. I like questions because then I know that you're out there. Otherwise, It's just me and Athena. Not that she's not great company and everything, but okay.
Thanks.
So now this one, I'm just going to pull it up. That's just getting a little bit more color as we go. That'll probably end up being my light ones in the very end. Okay. And this has the stars on it. Subtle. Remember, we're looking for monochromatic. We're not looking for ginormous changes. So now I have two yellows with the orange. This one has the stars. This one has the negative of the stars. Now I'm going to get one of my swirl patterns out. So the idea here is that we use swirls and geometric. So this is the swirl pattern that I'm going to use. Now I'm going to go to a little bit darker of a color. So I think I'm going to use this one's red. So we'll use this red because I did orange. Right, I did that regular orange. So this would be a little bit darker than that. Yeah, maybe more darker than I wanted. So let me add a little bit of yellow to it, which means I'll end up with way more paint on my brayer than I want. And I'll show you what I do when I get that. So sometimes if I get more paint on my brayer than I want, I'll plan ahead and I'll have some Decker Bond, which is a fusible heavyweight interfacing, and I'll pull that out. I did not prepare for that, so instead, I don't want to waste all this paint, right? Because that is not my goal here. I'm going to take it. I'm so lightly. I'm like Tinkerbell, just the lightest little touch, and I'm rolling it directly onto a piece of fabric, right? And then I can roll it a little bit darker, a little bit harder, harder, harder. And so I'm cleaning off my brayer because there's too much paint on my plate. Okay. There we go. So just lightly, lightly, lightly until I get more and more of it to come off. So now I really, for all intents and purposes, have another solid. Okay. Now I'm going to take the stencil with the swirls. And this is for the two parts. So these are the two that have the stars on it. This is the one that had the positive of the stars. I'm going to put that one down onto the circles. All right, you got an amen from Kathleen. Amen, Athena. Amen. Right. So I'm trying to press it down enough so that I can really see that I'm picking up that paint through all the rings. Elizabeth St. Hilaire is the designer of many of the stencils that I get from joggles.com, and I love watching her painting videos. She's actually a collage paper artist, but she does some really fabulous gel press videos. And one of the things she says is that before you dismount the paper, just take a little peek and make sure that you've gotten all the paint through the stencil that you want to have. So it's a dismount, which makes me think of the Olympics. Right? See, right there, I can get more because I really want to get as much as I can possibly get through the holes in the stencil. Okay. Boom. All right, now this one turned out really cool. All right, so I've got yellow, orange, and a reddish orange. That is a beautiful monochromatic. So I'm going to put him to the side. Now I'm going to peel this one up. I'm going to bring back. This is that piece that I've been putting my wet stencil on. I'm going to pick this one up, put the wet stencil onto the fabric that's been my pickup piece. Now this is the piece that had the yellow, then the negative of the star stencil, and it's going to go down.
It looks like Tuscany.
It does. Well, it's that yellow, the yellow and red color. Yeah, is that in Italy?
Yes.
So we've got Australia and Italy. The two places Athena wants to go to someday.
Yeah, someday.
Well, in Greece.
That's a given.
That's a given. Athena's from Greece. That's why she says that. She doesn't know any Greek words, so please, nobody from Greece, write any Greek words because she wouldn't know what you were saying.
No.
All right, so here we go. This is the 3 layers with the stars and the rings right there. All right, that is a great monochromatic. And so here you can see the 2 negatives and positives. Okay, so now I'm going to do that again with some other colors, and this time we're going to add a couple of other things to it. So this piece here, let me see how he's doing. See, she's getting more and more interesting as we go, just being my stencil cleanup piece. All right, so I've got a couple of bright yellow ones here. No, that's a bright yellow one. That's a bright. Oh, I've got this other one that I started. That's why. Okay. All right, so this time we're going to go a little bit. So I've got this yellow. We're going to go with something a little bit duller, if you will, to the ochre. Oh, if I can get it open. Yes, I did. All right. Now this is a jacquard opaque, which means it is very, very opaque. Pretty much it's going to cover everything that's behind it is the intention of this. They market it as their sneaker for painting on sneakers because it's so opaque. I don't know why they market it that way, but they do. All right. Keeping the paint a little more fluid. Well, maybe it could be, although it's not really that hot down here. I'm in my studio is in the basement of my house. And I just realized I had not turned on the dehumidifier. As I'm saying that, Kathleen, I'm going, I've not turned the dehumidifier on in a while, which explains why it's felt a little bit chilly. All right. So now I'm going to get another stencil. This one's pretty cool. This one has these, this is a Dress My Craft stencil, which is available at Joggles. And it kind of looks like the diamonds like that. All right, so here's going to be my positive. Going to get through all the little holes. Hello, ratchet up your art. I hope you are ratcheting up your art by doing gel press printing on your fabric. I am using, the type of muslin I'm using is a high quality muslin. I got a really great buy on this. So it doesn't really have a brand name. It's just a high quality muslin. Like if you wash it, it does not turn into cheesecloth kind of stuff. And this stuff holds my paint fabulously and works great. Right? So here's the positive. Now I'm going to take that wet stencil and I'm going to, again, just keep adding it to this one over here. I'll never know what I'm going to get out of this. Now I'm going to take another one of the yellows. Now keep in mind, when it comes to fabric, you don't want a lot of thick layers on it because the thick layers make the fabric a little bit too stiff. Not that it's ever kept me from sewing it and putting it in a quilt, but it is a little stiffer than I prefer. So I like to keep my layers light. So when you're watching some people's videos where they're painting on fabric, sometimes theirs is a little bit heavy-handed for what we want on our paper, on our fabric. There we go. Up, that one you can't even see that anything came off. Right. So now, gonna peel that up. Looking wonderful. All right. So now I have the positive and the negative of that same stencil. Now I'm going to grab another one that has, should I do that one? No, not that one. Some other, I know, Athena's like, Nancy, they have no idea what you're talking about. Okay, another one of my circle stencils. And I mean, honestly, you can pre-check it. See, oh, how's that going to look? Well, that's going to look really cool. I'm going to get a lot of different design. Keep in mind, you could keep it just like that. That's a beautiful piece. That's a beautiful piece. Keep it just like that if that's what you want to do. I like adding layers. That might not be as important to you. All right, so I'm going to put these to the side this time because I used that ochre on there. We're going to use this one. This is the Sparks paint from, oh my goodness, Anna Dombrowski. Art Alchemy. Anna Dombrowski is the designer for this. Also, what was it? She had like a stage name too. Finnabar. Finnabar is her stage name, which is too funny.
Alias?
How about it? Rachel, ratchet up your art. I wish I knew what your real name was. 2 layers is great. 3 layers, though, gives me more variety. So I don't generally do more than 3 layers. Okay, so we're going to use this one. This is a Sparks and Art Alchemy. This is available at joggles.com. Lots and lots of colors. Fabulous, fabulous sheen, and the paint has a really nice fluidity to it. Love using this. They are a little bit more expensive though. So grab them when Joggles is having a 25% off everything sale. Trust me, she does that quite often. So get on her newsletter, watch her videos, then you'll know when she's doing like, an anniversary or sale or something like that. Okay. So light layer of that. That was a perfect amount. Oh, I'm getting really good at guessing how much. Now I'm going to use that stencil. I'm going to take the positive. So this is the one that did the first print off the diamond stencil. That's the one that I'm going to use to take the first print off the rings. Okay, pressing it down, getting all of the little goody tidbits that are in between there. All right, once I get done tonight, I'm going to start packing this stuff up so I can get all my stuff packed for teaching. This is one of the classes that I teach down in Houston. So if you happen to be there and you want to use all my stencils, you can do that. Take the class, you pay a kit fee, and you'll get the plate and the paints and a brayer, a stencil and a stamp, but then you also get to use my stamps and my stencils. Look at that. The shine is fabulous on there, but I love the background created by the diamonds. We're going to do something else to this one too. And then this one, I'm going to take that up. Here's the one that's been picking up all the leftover paint from the bottom of the stencil. Pick them up, move them over here, push them down. Now I'm going to take this one. I hope this, I don't know, it seems to me to not, I don't know if it left as much paint behind as I would like. So we're going to leave that one there for a hot minute. Hot, hot, hot. Okay. I'm going to move this one over, and I want to do something else to this one. And this is the using the needlepoint canvas. It's got two sides on it, so both of them work, but one of them is going to give you finer lines. This is like the perfect all over onto a piece when I like it, but I just feel like it could, if it just had just something else, just a little bit of something else, that I might like it a little bit better. So we're going to use the red shimmer paint. So I know that this one is quite thick because it's quite new for me. So I'm going to squeeze it out about that much. Then I'm going to put down some of the textile medium. Takes a little, that's funny, I don't normally get a perfect little puddle. And I'm going to spin it around. And when I spin it around, it makes all the little clumpies go away, and then it's a very smooth fabric that still has the sheen that I want from the shimmer paint. Or the paint? Oh, the paint that I want for my fabric. All right. Let's get that all over it. You can smell the paint? Don't think I've ever noticed I could smell the paint. All right. I'm going to move this guy out of the way and put him down because I want to put the grids on top of that. So I'm going to press it down, pick it up, and lay it right down on top. And then this one, I'm going to pick up just on a clean piece. Oh, you know what? I'm going to pick this one. No, I'm not. I'm going to pick it up on a clean piece. Yeah, and that's how quickly I change my mind. Okay. So that'll be a red solid base for something down the road. And this one should have little red grid all over it. And it does. Yeah. Oh my gosh, it's so cool. Let me see what you guys can see. Yeah, you can see it. I'm going to bring it a little bit closer. Yep. That needlepoint canvas, it like just makes everything within that piece come together with those little checks on it. It just love, love, love what that does to the fabric. So let's pull the pieces back out that we've done. So this is the first one we did. Again, positives with the star with darker and darker shades of the yellow to red. This one here, love this one. Although I think on this one, I'm not going to do it tonight, but I think on this one, I might take a stamp that's kind of like this, that it's not this, it's already got 3 layers of fabric. And I talked about how I don't want to have, I'm sorry, 3 layers of paint, and I don't want to have a lot of extra weight on the fabric. So this particular stamp has these very delicate little spokes to it. So I could add something to this, and it might even be something like a bright yellow that'll kind of mellow out some of the orange. We did that one. This is the piece that has picked up all of the paint off the back of the stencil so far. So a light color, and I might keep that one there just like the way he is. Then I did this one was just a 2 layers. I'd need to add another layer to that if I'm working in this scheme of things. This is the one, I don't know, this could be my favorite one because it's got those little checks on it. Let's see what this one's been doing. Okay, that's Wonderbar. That's got the 3 layers of the negative. That had the yellow, then it had the diamonds. Here you can see a little bit more of the diamonds, and then the rings on it, which was the opposite of this one until I put the grid on it. And then one last one to pull up. This will be the red one, that instead of just being a solid red one, it has that little bit of grid on it from the needlepoint canvas. So there you go. Today we learned how to use monochromatic colors. So keeping your colors, there you are. Your colors on the color wheel, just, pick a narrow range like yellow to green or green to blue, that kind of an idea. That's going to give you the monochromatic. You can always add accents to it, like we were looking at that one Tim Holtz fabric. It was mostly that burgundy color, but then he did have some black in it too, and that's always going to make a really, really cool design. All of the paints, as I mentioned, are available on joggles.com. So use one of the links below to get there so that I get my little commission. I do appreciate everybody in your comments. I love your questions. You did not confuse me, Kathleen. I could just easily get off track, as Athena can contest. I do have a membership. You might notice some of the people as you go up and down. So like Linda, if you look at Linda's comment from Arkansas, which Linda, you know what? I think I'm teaching in Arkansas next year. So I hope maybe it's in an area that you are. But you see that little symbol next to Linda? That means that Linda's a member. So you can join membership on my channel. It helps me be able to do what I'm doing. To help me make a little bit more income. But then you also get a few perks depending on what level you are. So if you're a designer level, I meet with you once a month to talk about electric quilt and help you design quilts. And if you're an addict member, you get to design quilts and you get all my free books, which will include my Learning to Quilt 2, otherwise called the Great Lakes Voyage. I keep messing that up. The Great Lakes Voyage, which we will start airing on Monday. Athena's got, I don't know, 4 or 5 of them already edited. The book is coming to me from the printer any day now. So it happens to be September 30th, 2022. So depending on when you're watching this. So on Monday, watch for the video, The Great Lakes Voyage, Learning to Quilt 2. It's a really, really cool quilt. And it's going to be an 8 or 9 part series coming up. All right. So any other questions? Let me get to the bottom of this again. You live vicariously through me. That's kind of funny. You can create your own fabric. All right, it's time to start making your own fabric. And then you got to remember, it's kind of like designing quilts. Designing quilts is great, but we're quilters. That means you need to take those designs and make a quilt. Same thing with the fabric. I don't just paint the fabric because I think it's fun, because trust me, I do. I paint the fabric so I can make quilts with it because I am mostly a quilter. All right. So thank you very much for joining me. Athena and I are going to go upstairs and have some spaghetti and cake. Have a great evening.